Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to create your own custom press-on nail sets by incorporating your favorite dip powder. So we're going to start the process from start to finish so you can see how truly easy it is to achieve this at home. Alright, so first things first, we're going to go ahead and prep the nail tips before we go ahead and apply the dip powder. So most of the tips that you use, you're going to see they have a little nub right at the tip of the nail. So I'm going to go ahead and just clip that right off, and then we're just going to file it and buff it just a little bit just to smooth it down and make everything even. So I'm going to go in with a cuticle nipper and just go ahead and nip that tip of the nail right off. And then once we go ahead and do that, I'm just going to go ahead and smooth it down. Now the tips that I'm using today are already pre-etched, but if you want, you could also go ahead and file and buff inside that nail, and that will also help with longevity of your press-on set. But once you're done with your filing and buffing and just reshaping a little bit, you're going to be good to go. And then we're going to go ahead and apply that tip right on a nail stand. This is your traditional nail stand, and I'm using a little piece of white putty, and then we're just going to apply that tip right to the stand. And the best part about making your own press-on nail sets at home is that you can experiment with so many lengths and different sizes when it comes to nail tips. Now that we have all the prep done, it is time to start the dip powder process. We're going to go in with the Revel dip powder liquids. This is the set that has the dip base in here, the activator, and the top coat. So it's all your liquids that you need to complete your dip powder manicure at home. And then we're going to go in with a solid color first. Anytime I'm working with a solid color, I just like to make sure I'm giving it a good stir. We're going to start off with the dip base. Now before I go ahead and just apply it right to the nail, I'm just going to go ahead and remove some of that extra product off the brush. This is a really important step, especially when you're making press-ons. It's going to help reduce bulk, and you want to make sure that you have a very thin layer of product on the nail. So I'm going to start right below the cuticle line, and then we're going to work that dip base all the way down to the nail, and I'm just making sure I am covering every area of that nail, and I'm making sure I am applying it with a very thin application. Again, taking that extra product off the brush is going to make all the difference in the world when you are applying your dip base. It's going to help keep the shape of the nail and reduce bulk. All right, now that we have the dip base on the nail, we're going to go ahead and dip it into the first color. And I'm just going to let the nail kind of marinate in the powder just to make sure it is absorbing into that dip base so we get a really beautiful coverage. And then once you go ahead and dip it, we're going to tap it off, and then check it out. We already have some really good coverage going on here, and we have a beautiful, soft, delicate pink. And then just to make sure we are keeping the nail shape true to itself and not bulking it up, I am going to go ahead and just press everything down. For me personally, I know when I'm working with the powders, I tend to bulk up right where like the cuticle line meets like the sidewall. So I'll make sure I spend some time making sure that's all laying flat. But making sure you're pressing everything down in between each layer is really going to make sure you're keeping the shape of the nail. And now we're going to go ahead and dust off. Now we have great coverage for that first go around, but after your first dip, if you notice any bare spots or anything like that, make sure you go ahead and just hit that with the dip base for your second dip. But overall, everything is looking really good. Now to clean up directly underneath the nail, so you want to be really careful with this step. I'm going to go in with the file, and I'm really focusing the underneath side of that nail because we did not hit this nail with any activator. So if you do go ahead and nick the top of that dip powder, you might take some pieces off. So just make sure you're being very careful when you are cleaning up the underneath side of the nail. But I find doing any cleanup with a file works so much better than going in with an orange wood stick. Now for that second dip, we're going to follow the exact same steps as we did the first go around. We're going to do a very thin, even layer of that dip base and then dip it directly into that color. Now that we have everything pressed down, this nail is looking really good, but if you ever notice any areas that are a little bit darker or look a little wet still, just go ahead and put that nail back into the dip powder and you're going to be good to go. So then we're going to go ahead and give this a good dust. Now you have an option right here. You could go ahead and do a third dip if you want. I like how everything is looking with 2 coats, and we are going to be completely done with this nail. I'm actually not going to do any clear on this nail at all because I'm just gonna go ahead and file and buff directly onto this since it is a complete solid. I'm not gonna be worried about cutting into any glitters or anything like that. So I'm loving what we're working with here. Now we are going to be moving on to a really fine glitter dip powder. So to make sure we are keeping this pink as pure as possible and keeping it that solid color, I'm just going to go in right away and do a layer of activator. Now, if you want to go ahead and do a layer of clear first, just follow the same steps that we just did previously and do the clear and then go in with your activator. But I like to do this when I'm working with glitters just to make sure we are keeping this beautiful solid pink solid and keeping it as gorgeous as it is on that nail. All right, now we're going to move into a really fine sparkle, and this one also has some little star shapes in here, which are going to come to play in just a little bit. So we're going to follow the same steps that we did with the salad. We're going to go in with that dip base and do a very thin, even layer. And then we're going to go ahead and dip into that beautiful sparkle dip powder. Now, when you're working with sparkles, they're a really fun way to just enhance any nail look, and it's going to give you that flawless finish. Also, a fine glitter like this, if you have any imperfections on your nail, this powder right here is going to be a little bit more forgiving on your nail than a solid nail. It's going to just give you a really flawless finish. So we already have really good coverage with that first coat. I really like a fine, beautiful sparkle. So we're just going to do 1 coat of this because I really like how delicate this sparkle is. And we're just going to press everything down. And again, making sure you're taking that extra step to press everything down when you are making your press-ons, or even if you're not making press-ons and you're doing your nails at home, taking that extra step to press everything down is going to make all the difference in the world. It's really going to cut down on your filing and buffing at the end. So then just to clean up any of that glitter or dip base that may be lingering underneath the nail, I went back in with the file. And we're only doing 1 coat of this beautiful glitter, but I want to show you a really easy way to incorporate some effortless nail art. So I'm just going to go in with a very thin layer of dip base on certain areas that we're going to be targeting. And then I'm going to go in with an orange wood stick, and we're just going to go ahead and get that orange wood stick, just tap it into that dip base, and then we're going to pick up some glitter pieces just to create a really fun design by incorporating some elements that are in the dip powders. Like these star glitter pieces right here are a really fun and easy way just to add a touch of something different to your nail and just give you a really easy nail art option. Now that those stars are on the nail, I'm just going to let them sit for about 20 seconds. And then I am going to go in with the flatter side of the orange wood stick, and I'm just going to go ahead and press down just a little bit just to make sure that those stars are laying completely flat to the nail. So then when we do clear encapsulate and get into that filing and buffing, we do not cut into that star shaped. So now that those stars are on there, we're good to go. I'm just going to let this sit here for about 30 seconds just to make sure that dip base is completely dry. Now we're going to go ahead and dip into the clear to clear encapsulate this beautiful sparkle, because for this one, I do not want to go ahead and file directly on top of this because then I will cut into all those fine glitters and then we will cut into those star glitters. Now for the clear encapsulation, we're going to follow the same steps for the dip base. I'm going to do a very thin, even layer over the entire nail, and then we're going to dip right into that clear powder, and this is going to give us that protective barrier that we need for that filing and buffing process. So then after we dip, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to press everything down, making sure we're keeping that beautiful shape of the nail. And then once you go ahead and do the clear on all your glitter nails, I'm just going to let that sit for about 2 minutes just to make sure it is completely absorbed and everything just kind of is settled down, because then to make sure we're going to get the most crystal clear finish when it comes to that clear powder, I'm going to go in with a stiff nail brush and give the nail a good scrub. This is going to make sure when we go ahead and activate that this nail stays that pure crystal clear finish. If you've ever went in with just like your normal dust brush and then went in with your activator and then noticed that your nails looked a little bit hazy or cloudy, that is because there was still some clear powder left off. So always go in with that stiff brush. Now we went in with that layer of activator and I let that sit for about 2 minutes. Make sure that activator is completely hardened through all those layers. And now you are ready to do your filing and buffing. So filing and buffing for this set in particular was super easy. I'm just doing a little bit of reshaping and cleaning up, and that's really very minimal filing and buffing for me. And then I'm just going to go in with the buffer. I like to use a longer buffer versus like your small little orange black buffer because I feel like I get the best control and it just makes that buffing process a little bit more easier. And then again, this is real time filing and buffing. This is all we're going to be doing for this set right here. And again, we did take that extra time just to make sure everything was laying super flat. So in the end result, we kept that shape of the nail, which then led to some very minimal filing and buffing. And filing and buffing for me personally is my least favorite thing to do for a set. So if I can cut down on my filing and buffing in any way throughout the process, I'm totally here for it. All right, so here's what that nail looks like after we did our filing and buffing. Everything is looking super even and flat. And then after the filing and buffing, we're gonna bring this nail back to life. We're gonna apply a generous amount of activator over the entire nail. And then this is when you can really see all that sparkle just come back to life. Now for the pink nail, again, filing and buffing was super easy, and we also did not do a layer of clear on here, and everything stayed true to color, and the finish looks absolutely fantastic. So we're just gonna go ahead and dust off, and then again, do the same layer of activator over the entire nail. Now that we have the activator on all the nails, we are ready for that final step. Now before we go in with the top coat, I'm going to go in with a dry lint-free wipe and just wipe down all the nails to remove any extra activator that may be lingering behind. And now we're going in with the top coat. So for the first coat, you just want to do 4 to 5 quick swipes over the entire nail, just making sure you're covering it. And then I always like to wipe off my brush on a paper towel just to make sure and prevent some cross-contamination. And then for our pink nail, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to do those 3-4 quick swipes. But this time, before we go ahead and just move on to the next nail, I wanted to apply one of those glitter pieces on the tip of the nail here. So I'm just going to go ahead and gently, ever so gently, place that star glitter right on the tip of the nail here, and then that's going to dry right into that top coat. So now that we applied that first layer of top coat to all the nails, I let it sit for about a minute. Now I'm going in with that second layer of top coat, and this time you could be more precise in your application and more thorough and really take your time. And then that is it for the top coat. We're going to do the second layer now on top of that pink nail, and this is really what's going to seal in and give us that beautiful shine. It's also going to protect that little star glitter that we added right at the tip. But overall, I really love the finish that we're getting with the Revel's top coat. Another option for you, if you want more of a glossier finish, you could always go in with your favorite gel top coat as well. And then here's our finished set. It's super simple and sparkly. I love the little stars. And then this is what the set looks like on, but super easy to achieve. And just another way to incorporate your dip powders by making your own custom press-ons. And then for your press-on application, just go in with your favorite nail glue, or you can use a sticky tab for temporary wear, and you're gonna be good to go. So everything that we use in today's video can be found in that description box below, and I'll see you all in the next one.